Let me begin with reciting the whole but short poem, The Inner History of a Day, with which I started this service. We seldom notice how each day is a holy place where the Eucharist of the ordinary happens, transforming our broken fragments into an eternal continuity that keeps us. Somewhere in us, a dignity presides that is more gracious than the smallness that fuels us with fear and force, a dignity that trusts the form a day takes. So at the end of this day, we give thanks for being betrothed to the unknown and for the secret work through which the mind of the day and the wisdom of the soul become one. Do I trust the form a day takes? What I hear in O'Donoghue's words is to accept the grace of a dignity grounded in reason, experience, and self-respect, that despite what happens in a day, a month, a year, a lifetime, that I can trust my calling to respond courageously, albeit imperfectly. That at the end of the day, I can interpret what I have learned by using the inner wisdom I already have, and that I can grow my inner wisdom by incorporating what I have learned that contradicts my earlier understandings. Perhaps, in other words, I can trust that loud beeping of my BS detector while still maintaining my ultimate faith that humans can evolve to build a more generous and peaceful society, even now. Yet, I still find it difficult to trust. When is trust merited? Am I myself trustworthy? Is trust naive? Should I trust others initially, or only when evidence of trustworthiness arises? When there is so much cowardice and complicity, even among those who may share some of my own beliefs, how do I know for sure who is for real? And beyond our relationships with others, in what else should we trust? In God? Whose God? In science, even when it's fueled by those who will profit from its results? In certain ideologies? And by the way, we all have an ideology, even if it merely reflects the default views of our surrounding cultures. Especially today, when there is so much artificially created and often deliberately false information circulating, how do we judge what sources to trust? Which media outlets, organizations, parties, religious institutions? Do we conflate their agreements with our own positions, with their factual accuracy? Should we trust that they are inherently more conscientious, their leaders less subject to corruption and ego tripping? Do we trust only people of certain identities, either from a place of relating or from rebelling? In this age of authoritarian cruelty, superficial rushes to judgment, corporate media concentration, and blatant hypocrisy across the political spectrum, what can we trust? But if we trust nothing and no one, how do we avoid the paranoia and passivity that is currently enabling all those who clearly cannot be trusted? So what do we really mean by the word trust anyway? Is it faith, confidence, honesty, integrity? When asked to speak about something I struggle with, I often turn to the dictionary, if for no other reasons than to make sure my understanding of a word is accurate and that I am not stuck on one definition where there might be several. According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, trust is, quote, a firm belief, or to firmly believe, in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. Here is what jumps out for me in this definition. First, truth is about belief. Thus, to trust initially, without prior evidence, involves faith, quote, a firm belief in something for which there is no proof, unquote. It may not be wise to trust without evidence, yet even a lack of trust may be based on belief in fallible perceptions. Second, the definition has no moral content. Ability, reliability, or strength may be used for evil ends. Even truth can be used in harmful ways. Third, it is faith in the possibility of good outcomes that allows us to work for and achieve them, not trust. When we lack faith that we or others can overcome obstacles, when we lack faith in grand narratives of justice and redemption, little gets done, personally or socially. And trust aside, now more than ever, we need that faith. So, does the dictionary help us or merely add to the confusion? You decide. What most of us mean, I think, when we say trust, we trust others, is that they are honest and act with integrity. That is, their actions match their values and promises. For example, if we pledge traditional marriage vows, we agree to trust that our spouses will not engage in sexual relations with others, and that they will love and care for us in sickness as well as in health, for better or for worse, barring we don't break our own vows in return. Now, full disclosure here, I have been divorced once, widowed once, and recently left a long-term partnership. So don't trust me to have expertise on how to make a marriage last. Plus, I no longer believe that marriage-type relationships offer the right structure for my own well-being. But the analogy still works. Marriage is a covenant. It doesn't mean we will always get it right, that we will never hurt or anger each other or never have serious differences, but that we make an honest effort to love and care for each other, to apologize and to forgive, to adjust and compromise in the service of each other's happiness. Likewise, in church, we make covenants about how to treat each other, and for much the same reasons. As in marriage, for congregants to trust each other, there needs to be a baseline of attraction and desire, areas of shared interest and belief, and areas of separate activities, so we are not all competing or too dependent on each other's validation. And we must have the discipline to commit to each other's well-being. Most UUs are attracted to community. We share an interest in exploring our spirituality. We want to fight injustices and improve social conditions. But as in marriage, how deep does that covenant go? While I may not be a strong fan of marriage at this point in my life, I do believe in the virtue of integrity. Do our actions truly align with our words? I ask because we are about to be tested in ways that most of us have never experienced. Tested in ways that may put our economic security, our freedom, and even our lives on the line. First, we are going to have to challenge ourselves to be truly trustworthy. And second, to learn to trust each other. The latter is not going to be easy, for those of us who have been marginalized, bullied, or repeatedly betrayed. Our allies could prove, as allies often do, to be fair weather friends. For those of us who have not had such difficult experiences, it may be hard to trust ourselves to move beyond mere allyship, to grow the courage to become true comrades and co-conspirators. For all of us, wherever we may fall on the spectrum of privilege, can we find that inner dignity that will allow us to overcome the smallness of fear and force? When should we trust our own knowledge, experience, or intuition? After all, heaven forbid we might get it wrong. And where is the line between the virtue of self-confidence and the sin of arrogance? Should we risk the vulnerability of being wrong and maybe harming others, especially now when there could be such serious consequences? We will each have to decide. If fear of criticism, loss, or punishment means we fail to speak our truth, others cannot trust our words. If our actions are based on fear, obedience, or subservience, others cannot trust us to stand up to the powerful forces that seek to destroy almost all of us soon and the more vulnerable right now. Most of us are familiar with a famous quote from Pastor Niemöller, starting, "First they came for," and ending, "and then they came for me, and there was no one left to defend me." Niemöller survived a Nazi concentration camp, but only after he failed to defend others before him. His is a powerful confession of guilt I hope none of us will ever have to make. To trust or not to trust is not in itself a moral question. The morality lies in the things that build or destroy trust. May we choose wisely and courageously. To close, let us return to the words of John O'Donohue. Somewhere in us is a dignity, presides, that is more gracious than the smallness that fuels us with fear and force, a dignity that trusts the form a day takes. And to the words of our hymns today, may we trust the voice still and small that guides us, and to keep singing as we cling to the rock of our faith. Thank you.